When will this be over for me? Well, here's what's going to happen. One day, you're going to wake up, eat your breakfast, brush your teeth, go about your business. And sooner or later, you're going to realize you haven't thought about it. None of it. And that's the moment you realize you can forget.
First things first is that going through a breakup sucks. And every single man out here, no matter what they say, understands how bad it is to go through a breakup and understands what heartbreak's like. It's difficult. It's not easy. I'd actually like to argue that men feel more heartbroken than women. I think that's
facts.
I think it's true. And I think it's because one of the possessive element that we have, the idea of her being with someone else hurts more than the idea of you being with someone else to her. And secondly, because you have a lot less options than she has instantly. So I think that breakups are worse for men than they are for women. And I understand how difficult and hard they can be. However, unfortunately, the unfortunate reality is that chasing her and being dedicated to her and saying you're going to do whatever she wants, etc., is very unlikely to work. It's very unlikely to work. And you have to look at the scenario you're in, look at the chessboard, and make the best possible move. When you're heartbroken, when you're truly heartbroken, you can't even sleep. And your mind is constantly preoccupied. And instead of seeing that as a negative, what you need to do is use that as a source of unlimited power. If I was truly heartbroken today, let's imagine, and I could barely sleep, I'd be in better shape than I've ever been. I'd train like a fucking animal. You have to just take the energy inside of you. Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted, whether it's heat into light or momentum into friction or however you want to put it, right? Energy cannot be destroyed. It can only be converted from one form to another. And you have to look at that and understand that the sadness inside of you is energy. You can't destroy it, but you can convert it into something else which is constructive. And you just have to suck it up, buttercup, and get over it. Yeah. And there's no other way to do it. And obviously having an abundance of women makes that easier. But I wouldn't even put it that way. I'd say if you were with a woman and you lost her and you're now lonely and she's going to be moving on and you're absolutely not heartbroken and you're destroyed inside, I understand how difficult that is. But now you have genuine sadness inside of you, which is unlimited motivation for you to become a fucking beast, become an animal. And by the time you're finished becoming an animal, you won't care anymore. So if you really want to cure yourself, you just say, I'm going to get a six-pack and I'm going to get bigger arms. And by the time my arms are this size and I have a six-pack, then I'm going to think about that bitch. And you'll realize you don't give a shit about her anymore. That's just the way the world works.
It's just hard to see my little man not being my little boy all the time.
Sometimes the people we like don't like us back. It's painful, but there's nothing we can do about it.
You don't understand.
I do understand. I know what it's like when someone doesn't feel the same way about you. It's someone you can't stop thinking about. It hurts. But you can't make people like you.
I don't like her. I love her.
But love isn't about grand gestures or the moon and the stars. It's just dumb luck. And sometimes you meet someone who feels the same way. And then sometimes you're unlucky. But one day, you're going to meet someone who appreciates you for who you are. I mean, there's 7 billion people on the planet. I know one of them is going to climb up on a moon for you. You're going to make someone really happy one day.
You moving too fast, bro. I feel like you're at a point where you're starting to feel like you need a girlfriend. You don't need a fucking girlfriend, bro. If this is what this is doing to you, real shit, you don't need a fucking relationship. Nigga, love yourself before you're able to love anybody else. And if on some real man-to-man shit, you don't need a girlfriend. You want one. You may want a relationship. You may want somebody to love you. You may want this. You may want. But always remember, you don't need.
The future is scary, but you can't just run back to the past because it's familiar. Yes, it's tempting.
But it's a mistake.
Sometimes the breakup is actually the blessing. Why be so heartbroken about the breakup when you have to remember the reason you broke up? You break up cause something ain't going right. You got to free yourself. There was nothing so great about her that you would want that again. If I compare another woman to my ex, it's because I want to make sure I don't get my ex again. You obviously a good guy.
Yeah, I work a lot too, so.
And you're a good guy.
Yes, sir.
Do you know how many women are out here looking for a good...
Is it okay to be lonely?
Yes, it is.
I used to think it wasn't, but it is.
Help me understand that.
It's okay to be lonely. It's okay to not have to rely on somebody for happiness. It's okay to find yourself, find happiness within yourself. Like you don't need to be always with somebody. You're allowed to be lonely and find happiness and sleep alone, and you know, you're allowed to do that stuff. I think doing that sometimes can be good for people. I think people need to find themselves by being alone, you know?
When we hold on to things that feel good, it's usually because we're scared that something so good won't come around again. But that's just not true. The world is abundant, so the moment you switch your perspective is when your life will truly start to change.
That's why failure is so important. It's dangerous to dwell on past mistakes. You gotta get through it. You gotta get through bad feelings. You gotta get through failure. And you get through it by just picking yourself back up and moving forward and going. But it's hard for a lot of people because that sting, they never get over it, the feeling of failure. And they don't have a good support system, like good friends. Like having a good community of friends is very, very important, because you could feel like if you've been, a girl broke up with you and you feel like you're the worst, you're a fucking loser, like you're a piece of shit. But then you go out with your friends and you have a few laughs, and next thing you know, you're laughing and you're like, I'm all right. We'll be all right. And then maybe you meet a new lady.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she like picks you up and you're like, oh, we're going to be okay. And then you learn from the last mistakes.
Yeah.
That's life. It just, those feelings of failure are so hard. They're so hard to get over, and they overwhelm people, and some people can't get past them. And then every time some new thing comes up, when you have to rise to the occasion, you have to perform, you think about that time you failed, and it fucks your head up, man. You think, I'm a fucking loser, I can't do this, I'm gonna fail, I'm gonna fuck up, you know.
It's all right to sit around, be depressed for a minute, cry about it, do whatever you have to, but don't stay there too long. Get up and go on with your life. If somebody wanna walk out of your life, let them go. Especially if you know you done everything you can do, you done sat around and been the best man or the best woman you could be, and they still wanna go, let them go. Whatever they running after, they'll see what they had in a minute, but by then it's gonna be too late. Let folks go, son. Some people come in your life for a lifetime, some come for a season. You got to know which is which. And you gonna always mess up when you mix them seasonal people up with lifetime expectations.
You know, she was ready to really kind of explore the world in a lot of ways. But all I could think about was her hooking up with other guys. But really, the truth was, she just needed to kind of be free. And I was heartbroken, man. I mean, I remember I laid in the street in my neighborhood. Man, it wasn't even my neighborhood. And I was smoking menthol cigarettes. You know, every hit I took off of that menthol cigarette, that was my Amistad. You know, I don't know, I wanted to burn my insides up because she wanted to move on and I wanted to kind of stay. And the truth was, I mean, yeah, I was really in love with her at the time, but also I was just afraid of change. And sometimes, you know, someone's in our life for a certain amount of time for really important things. You know, and it's kind of great that you've had her for these moments. You know, she sounds like a neat person. I don't even know her, but I can just feel it. You're gonna have other chances with her. It's gonna be hard, though. It's gonna be hard. You have to stay busy. Your mind is gonna be your worst enemy if you really start to miss her. You have to find yourself now. You have to find out who you are, you know, somewhat separate from her. And it's gonna take effort, man. I hate to tell you that because I know it's probably gonna be hard sometimes to, you know, stay motivated or stay moving if you get those thoughts in your head that she doesn't care, or she's not thinking about you, or she's dating or doing other things. But you can do it. You know, you can make better choices than just laying in the street and smoking cigarettes. You know, if I could go back in time, I'd have spent more time with my friends. But there's a great chance, it's hard to see this when you're young, and I'm not preaching at you, but it's hard to see how many more opportunities you may have to date or to be in love. You know, and maybe something that can help is to like kind of pray for her. You know, to think about her and wish the best for her. My father used to pray for his enemies all the time. And eventually, even though they never knew it, he cared about them, because there's something inside of us where if we kind of wish for something or hope for something enough or pray for something enough to do well, then we start to we kind of support it instead of dislike it, you know. So just praying for her to be happy. You know, man, I want her to do well. I want her to be happy. I want her to have new experiences and learn. and have some joy in her life. That can help you. You do that for a couple of weeks, man, it could help you get through some of that, because then you're going to be more supporting. Part of you is going to want to support her instead of not want to.
Wherever you go from here, you have to promise to take care of that little boy for me. He never doubts that he is loved, and he never lets anyone at those big fancy places he's gonna be in tell him that he doesn't belong there.